Welcome you all to this class on sons and lovers. We have finished 7 chapters, and today we are starting chapter 8. In these 7 chapters, dear students, we uh, basically came to know the life of Paul Morel, who is the protagonist of this novel, and we came to know that the relationship between Mr. and Mrs. Morel, I mean Paul's mother and father, was not sound. Basically, their conjugal life was not a happy one. We cannot say that. And William, I mean the eldest son of Mr. and Mrs. Morel, he died, and we also came to know that Annie and Paul. We also came to know about their schooling, about their jobs, and we have also come to know about Arthur. Now, what is important that since the novel is almost in the middle of its length, so we have also seen that Paul is in a kind of affair with Miriam. The interesting part is that Paul's mother, I mean Mrs. Morel, she could not like or she could not support the affair between William and Gypsy. We know her as Gypsy. And Gypsy was a kind of snob type of girl, and the mother could not like that relationship, though later we see that William also withdrew himself from that relationship. But the mother could not like it. And William also was also, dominated by his feelings towards his mother. And there was a kind of mother fixation that worked in William as well. And when William died, Paul also suffered once from disease, and he almost died, but somehow he survived. And the mother became more dependent on Paul. So after that, probably she had a kind of fear that she might have lost Paul, and that's why she became more inclined to Paul, and she became indifferent to her husband, Mr. Morel. So this we see that Paul also depended on his mother, and the mother also became dependent on Paul psychologically. Then we saw that Paul developed a kind of relationship with Miriam. That relationship is, gradually it's getting deeper, and we will also see that what's the result of that relationship. But already what we have come to notice that Paul is again influenced by his mother. I mean, the mother fixation is still working in Paul. So that is important issue to notice in this novel. There are some other issues that we must, remember, and we will get in this novel afterwards. Well, as I was saying that, Paul and Miriam's relationship is getting deeper gradually. And what we will notice now that Paul will dwindle between his relationship with Miriam and his connection with his mother. So as he is influenced, highly influenced by his emotions towards his mother, and these emotions are working, against his emotions towards Miriam. So this is a very, technical issue to deal with, and Freudian psychology is often, used or implemented in order to analyze this critical relationship between the son and mother, son and the lover, and that's why the title of the novel is Sons and Lovers. So in between, mother and lover, the son stands and he dwindles, and the mother fixation works in his mind. So we will see with these things in our mind, we will see and we will try to find out that how much Paul is influenced by his relationship with his mother, and what other things are going to happen. Now, there are certain issues that will emerge in this novel now and in the later part, that Paul will also meet another girl, and there will be also a kind of relationship. I mean, three-dimensional relationship. That Paul will be there, then Miriam is there, and Clara, another girl, will be there. And what does Miriam symbolize, and what does Clara symbolize? We will come to know. Now let's start chapter 8, the title of which is Strife in Love. Now, in this chapter, what we come to know at first that Arthur, I mean, the youngest of the brother and sisters, enlists in the army on a whim. So he joins army, and it was out of whim, and then writes a letter to his mother to try to get out of it. So he can't adjust himself in the army, and that's why he requests his mother to get him out, to manage him out. You know that the people are supposed to sign a kind of bond for which they cannot come out of the job willingly at any time. She is very upset and goes to the sergeant, but is not able to get him out of it. The mother is very upset. She goes to the sergeant to get her son out, but she fails. He does not like the discipline of the army, but he has no choice. I mean, Arthur didn't like the discipline of the army, and that's why he was willing to, resign his job. But according to the norms or rules, he could not do that. By this time, Paul wins two first prize awards in an exhibition for students' work in the castle, which makes his mother very proud of him. And she goes to the castle to see his work on display. So by this time, Paul wins two prizes in an exhibition. He paints very well, and the mother becomes very proud of her son, Paul. And she also goes to the castle to, see the picture, the painting, which was being displayed. One day, Paul meets Miriam in town with Clara Dawes. Now, the second girl comes into Paul's life, whose name is Clara Dawes, the daughter of an old friend of Mrs. Lavers. So, Clara is basically the daughter of an old friend of, Miriam's mother. The next time Paul sees Miriam, she asks him what he thinks of Clara. So next time when Paul meets Miriam, Miriam wants to know from Paul that what does he think about Clara. So he tells her that he likes her somewhat, and she sulks. Paul says that well, she's okay, she's fine. So when Miriam listens this, she becomes, to some extent dejected. He tells this is also psychological. He tells her that she is always too intense and he longs to kiss her, but he cannot. Now, what Paul wants from Miriam, that Paul wants a kind of physical connection with Miriam, but Miriam is always hesitant. And Paul says that he wants to kiss Miriam, but Miriam is hesitant. Why? We will know that. When he leaves, he invites her and Edgar to tea the next day, and she is happy. So he invites Miriam and Edgar. However, when he gets home and tells his mother, she is not pleased and they argue. Now, again, what we notice that whenever Mrs. Morel finds a kind of development in the relationship between Paul and uh, Miriam, Mrs. Morel again cannot endure this. Now, this is the psychological problem of Mrs. Morel as well, because she could not like Gypsy, a different type of girl from Miriam, and again she cannot like Miriam, who is purely another type of girl, who is a spiritual type of girl, and she again cannot like Miriam. Rather, we can say that she uh, is afraid of Paul's relationship with Miriam. Paul feels torn between Miriam and his mother, very important issue. Now, Paul feels torn, he dwindles between his relationship with Miriam and his relationship with his mother, and resents Miriam because she makes his mother suffer. And this is again very significant. Paul starts, disliking Miriam because Miriam's presence, his mother is suffering psychologically, obviously, because of the presence of Miriam, and she cannot tolerate Miriam at all. She feels hurt one day when he tells her he will not meet her before a party at his house because it's only friendship. And one day, Paul tells Miriam that I am not going to meet you because you know that our relationship is just a kind of friendship. And why does Paul say this? Because Paul knows that his mother doesn't like him to mix with Miriam. Paul also knows that his mother doesn't like him to have an affair with Miriam. And that's why he doesn't want to hurt his mother. And unknowingly, he is hurting Miriam because of his getting or being influenced by the emotions that he nourishes for his mother. So I'm again and again telling you one thing, that it's a problem, it's a universal problem that a man suffers or experiences in this world. His a kind of balance, to maintain a balance between mother and wife, or lover. So it's the toughest one probably, because the mother thinks that she thinks that she possesses the child. On the other hand, the lover also thinks that she possesses the lover. So Miriam starts thinking that she possesses Paul. On the other hand, mother also thinks that she possesses Paul. So it becomes very difficult for Paul to stay as an individual, because he is possessed either by his mother or by Miriam, or you can also say by both. So possessiveness is very important in this novel, because the mother, I have already said, she thinks that she possesses Paul, and Miriam also thinks she possesses Paul. So this is universal, and this is probably true for every human being in this world, because the mother always thinks that she possesses her son, and the wife, or the lover, she also thinks that she possesses the man, and that's why she prefers saying that you are mine. So this "you are mine" sounds very well, but this "you are mine" basically is the greatest tragedy for a person, because a person is an individual. He cannot be the property or possession of another person. Whether that person can be mother, that person can be lover. But it's a tragedy that when a person becomes a possession of either mother or of the lover. So that is the complexity of this novel, or that is the problem from which Paul suffers, and he fails to keep balance between his relationship with his mother and Miriam. One Friday night, while Paul is doing the baking, Miriam comes to Paul, and when he hangs up her coat, he feels as though they live in the house together. So, this is a good meeting between Paul and Miriam, and they enjoy the time. He shows her a curtain he has made for his mother. He gives her a cushion cover in the same design that he has made for her. They begin to talk about, when Paul is making gift, he is making gift for two persons, mother and Miriam. So it's like the scale he is trying to maintain. They begin to talk about his work, and this is the time Paul is happiest with Miriam. So Paul talks about his work, he talks about his painting and other works that he performs, and this is probably the happiest moment of Paul's life with Miriam. They are then interrupted by Beatrice, a friend of the family, who makes fun of Miriam and flirts with Paul until Miriam reminds him that he is supposed to be watching the bread. So Beatrice comes and makes a kind of flirt in order to infuriate Miriam, probably, and Miriam reminds Paul that, you are going to burn the bread. So that was the job Paul was assigned by mother. He has burned one of the lobes, and then begins to feel somewhat guilty for ignoring Miriam. So when Beatrice was flirting with, you know, Paul, Paul became absent-minded, and for that reason, he had ignored Miriam, and he had also ignored baking of the loaves, and that's why he had burned one of the loaves. On some level, though, he feels that she deserves it. They go over, she deserves it, Paul thinks that Miriam deserves this ignorance, because I have already said Miriam is a girl who is completely driven by his spirit, and she believes in spirit, she believes in soul, she believes in the connection between souls. So Miriam's love is basically spiritual love, and Paul is a young boy, and he is always dissatisfied with the spirituality of Miriam, because Miriam's body never responds to Paul's call. On some level, though, he feels that she deserves it. They go over her French notebook, they read a little bit, and he walks her home. So after reading the French book, for a few pages, Paul guides Miriam to her house, takes Miriam to her house, and then Paul returns. When he returns, his mother and sister are waiting for him, and they have found a burnt loaf of bread. And both the mother and the sister are very dissatisfied with Paul because he had burnt the loaf, we already know. They are angry that he has been with Miriam and his mother is ill. And both the mother and the sister, they are angry because Paul was with Miriam when the mother was ill to some extent. So, when Paul stays with Miriam, the mother cannot tolerate it. He reconciles with his mother and realizes that he loves her more. So, this is again very interesting discovery that Paul reconciles with, says sorry to his mother and reconciles with her. And Paul now realizes that his love for his mother is stronger than his love towards his, uh, you know, uh, beloved Miriam. His father comes home and they fight, stopping only after Mrs. Morel faints, and Paul takes care of her. So, after the arrival of father, there is a fight between Paul and father, and the mother also gets involved, and the mother faints. And after that, Paul takes care of his mother, and already the reconciliation takes place. Now we are going to chapter 9 and defeat of Miriam. That's the title of this chapter. So Miriam as a spiritual girl is incurring defeat, and this defeat might be two reasons might be there behind this defeat. We will discuss it later. So right now I want to tell you that these two reasons, the first reason can be Miriam's spirituality, excessive spirituality, and her belief in spiritual relationship and her complete indifference towards body. That can be one reason. The other reason is that another reason is there, the possessiveness of Miriam, that Miriam also wants to possess Paul. And the third reason is the possessiveness of mother. So there can be three reasons behind this. One is Miriam's possessiveness. The other is mother's possessiveness, and the other is Miriam's spirituality and lack of interest towards and indifference towards physical love. Paul realizes that he loves his mother more than Miriam. So this is again, I am telling you, this is very interesting and significant discovery. So a comparison and contrast stands between Paul's love towards his mother and Paul's love towards his beloved or lover. So this comparison, apparently it may sound, astonishing, surprising, that why should be there a kind of comparison between son's love towards his mother and that man's love towards his beloved. It cannot be an issue of comparison, but in real life situation, this is the greatest issue in the world. That this is, in both cases, both the mother and the wife or lover, they want to possess the man spiritually, I mean the mind of the person. So the body becomes less important, even for Miriam. The body becomes less important for Miriam because Miriam wants to possess the soul of Paul. And that is the area where Paul becomes nervous. Paul shrinks within himself, and Paul becomes upset, and he becomes frustrated. And now he also starts comparing between, because he did not get any physical flavor from Miriam. So naturally, not getting or without getting or failing to get the flavor of physical love from Miriam. So Paul naturally draws a kind of comparison between his mother and Miriam, because in both cases the relationship is based on spirituality. So there is no harm from Paul's point of view. And now he observes that he loves his mother more than he loves Miriam. And Miriam seems also to realize that their relationship will never deepen. And Miriam also comes to realize that since Paul is so much possessed by his mother, Paul is so much, suffering from the crisis of mother fixation, that he is unable to come out of that. He is unable to come out of the shadow of his mother. And Miriam apprehends that their relationship is not going to deepen any further. One day Paul comes to call and is usually irritable. When Miriam begs him to tell her what is the matter, he tells her that they had better break off. So when did the love affair grow that the question of breaking up is coming? So even before the love affair, becomes matured, the question of breaking up has already come. Why? Because Paul is feeling uncomfortable. Because Miriam is also feeling uncomfortable. And why are they feeling uncomfortable? Miriam is feeling uncomfortable because what she expects from Paul, she is not getting that. Paul is also uncomfortable because what he is trying to get from Miriam, he doesn't get that. Miriam wants Paul's soul. Paul wants Miriam's body as well, not only soul. So, this failing to provide the necessity of each other is going to be the reason of the breakup. She does not understand why, and he tries to tell her that even though they have agreed that they are to be friends, if neither it neither stops there nor gets anywhere else. When asked, Paul cannot say what is the reason he wants breakup. He tells Miriam that since our relationship is neither friendship nor anything else, it's not stuck to friendship and it's not going anywhere. So what's the use of maintaining this relationship? So it's better to break up. She finally understands that he is telling her that he does not love her and wants to leave her free for another man. And at first, Miriam could not realize what Paul was saying. But finally, she realized that Paul doesn't want her, and Paul basically wants to make her free for another man. So Miriam is slow to understand these things, and that's why when she was shocked, and she was shocked to know that she was being left by Paul to be lover or to be, wife of another man. Miriam feels that he is mistaken, and Miriam thinks that Paul is wrong. That deep in his soul he loves her, and Miriam thinks that Paul in her soul loves Miriam. And she is angry with him for listening to his mother. And Miriam is also very angry with Paul because in every case, Paul is guided by his mother. And Paul shares almost everything with his mother, who has told him that he cannot go on in the same way unless he means to become engaged. And what has the mother said? The mother has said that the way you are mixing with Miriam, at first you have to get engaged and you have to mix with Miriam after that. She is angry that he lets his mother and his family tell him what he should do. Miriam is again very angry that Paul always takes suggestion from his mother and the family members. So this is insulting for Miriam. And this is insulting not only for Miriam, this is insulting for any lover or beloved. If the beloved knows or comes to realize that the lover's relationship with her is dependent on the green signal of the family members, then she will feel insulted. And if the beloved comes to know that in every case her lover is guided by the family members, she will also feel insulted because she expects a different world. She expects a solitary world with her lover. Now, the mother wants a solitary world with her son, and the lover also wants a solitary world with her lover. And that becomes the problem for people like Paul. And people like Paul, is basically Paul is every human being in this world. This is not simply a Western crisis. This is a crisis which is prevalent in every corner of the world. The son dwindling between his emotions towards his mother and his emotions towards lover. The mother trying to possess the son, the beloved trying to possess the lover. So the man becomes, a kind of puppet being possessed by both mother and lover or wife, and he feels shaken. He shrinks within himself. And a person who can makes a kind of balance between these two relationships is sound. but it becomes very difficult for human beings. And that is why the relationship between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law is hardly healthy in this world, because in both cases they want to possess the same person. Neither of them is wrong. That is the that is the mystery of nature. That is the law of nature. The mother doesn't want to let her son go. The lover doesn't want to let her lover go. So they are right. Both of them are right. And even the man who suffers, he is also right. So the man is basically helpless, becomes helpless. And that is exactly the philosophy that D.H. Lawrence has tried to develop in this novel. I was saying that the position of man, you know, in such situation when he is twisted between his emotions towards his mother and his beloved. Paul misses Willie Farm when he does not go there to call on Miriam, so he continues to go there to be with Edgar and the rest of the family. He no longer spends much time alone with Miriam, but one night he ends up alone with her when Edgar stays for communion with Mrs. Morel. They are discussing the sermon, and he reads to her from the Bible. And they almost attain their previous level of harmony until Paul begins to feel uncomfortable. So basically, Paul, you know, he not stops. He doesn't stop, but he has basically started decreasing his, meeting with Miriam, and sometimes they meet. But at one incident is being discussed, one episode is being discussed in which they again sit together, and Paul was spending happy moment, but he was feeling to some extent uncomfortable. Miriam invites Paul to come to the farm one day to meet Clara Dawes. Now Miriam asks Paul to her farmhouse to meet Clara Dawes. He accepts and is excited to meet her. He arrives, meets her in the parlor, talks to her and Miriam for a short time, and quickly decides that he does not like her. So Clara Dawes, is the second girl with whom we see Paul to develop intimacy, and over here, when he observes Clara, he makes a sudden conclusion and says that he doesn't like Clara. He goes to meet Edgar on his way back from getting coal. He tells Edgar that Clara should be called Nevermore because she is so disagreeable. So he tells Edgar that Clara is not a good girl and someone who is disagreeable, with whom you cannot develop any intimacy. So, but remember one thing, that this is interesting, that is a again meeting between Paul and Clara Dawes and the second girl in Paul's life. Later, Miriam asks Paul to accompany the two women on a walk. They meet Miss Lim and her horse, and Clara especially is very fond of the horse. After they leave, Paul and Miriam mention that they both feel there is something strange about Miss Lim, and Clara suggests that she wants a man. So again, this is significant from one point of view, that Clara's suggestion that the lady is having or not having is wanting a man, or the life of a woman without a man is, you can say, uncomfortable and unenjoyable. So this physical necessity is being hinted over here by Clara, which is being ignored by Miriam so far. So Clara walks a little ahead and Miriam asks Paul if he still finds her disagreeable. He replies that something is the matter with her, and she agrees. Again, Miriam asks Paul that, do you think that Clara is still disagreeable? Now, Paul says, I think there is something in this girl which I can't explain, but there is something. They arrive at a field of wildflowers and enjoy it together. Paul and Miriam pick flowers, and Clara says so. These three together go to a kind of garden, and they pick up wild flowers. And Clara says that does not like to pick them because she does not want the corpses around her. This is very significant. So when Paul was picking flowers, Miriam was picking flowers. Clara says that I don't like corpses. So she compares the flowers with dead bodies. So this is vitality that D.H. Lawrence always focuses on. Clara, prefers vitality. And Clara, that's why bluntly says that picked up flowers or plucked flowers are simply corpses or dead bodies. And this is useless. So until up to that limit, you have got the spirit within you, you have got the blood within you, you have got the value. If you don't have blood in your veins, if you don't have the warmth of love, if you don't have the spirit of life, then you are just comparable to dead body. So again, it hints on the necessity of physical love and vitality in life. So Clara focuses on, through Clara, D.H. Lawrence focuses on the vitality of relationship, vitality of life. And that's why Clara doesn't like the corpses. So these corpses again refer to Miriam as well, because Miriam, because of her excessive, spirituality, and because of her indifference towards physical love, has almost turned herself to a dead body for Paul as well. Because Paul was trying to advance to Miriam physically, and Miriam shrinks herself. Miriam doesn't want to allow that. So this is indirectly a kind of light on the indifference of Miriam's indifference towards physical love, and it also refers to Miriam's unwillingness, and indicates that they are basically lovers of dead bodies. Paul argues that it is sufficient reason that he likes and wants the flowers. Paul says, I don't care. I like the flowers, and that's why I'm picking. And that there are plenty of them. And there are plenty of flowers. So if I pick them, what's the problem? And Miriam says that the spirit in which the flowers are picked is what matters. On the other hand, Miriam is saying, this is also interesting, that plucking flowers or picking flower is not important. The spirit with which you are picking the flower is important. That is important. That matters. When Clara bends forward to smell the flowers, Paul scatters cow's leaves over her hair and neck. This is again significant. When Clara bends forward to smell the flowers, so Clara is not picking the flower. She tries to enjoy the fragrance of the, you know, live flowers, flowers which are still enjoying life. So that's the fragrance Clara wants to take. Clara doesn't want to take the fragrance of dead flowers. And at that moment, probably D.H. Lawrence wants to indicate that Paul spreads the flowers on Clara, suggesting Paul's fascination towards the body of Clara. Now, chapter 10 is basically focused on Clara, and we have 5 more chapters, and I will take uh, two more classes on sons and lovers after this one. So I want to close, or I want to stop this today's class over here, so that I can take 2 more classes, and in those 2 more classes I will try to complete sons and lovers. But if I feel the necessity, then I will take 1 more class. So at best I will take 3 classes on sons and lovers, but hopefully I will try to complete it within 2 classes. It's a long novel, you see, and if we don't discuss the issues in this manner, it will be tough to understand, and that is why I want to take 2 more classes. So for today's class, I want to stop here, and I will expect that we will attend the next classes as well. So thank you very much.